Okay, so here we are back with another of my 10 Days of DS videos, and we're going to pick up with some stuff inside the same scene as in the day 3 video, this being day 4. Um, so here I want to talk a little bit about emission in iRay inside Daz Studio. iRay being physics-based rendering and all that. And something that I really like doing, I think is really cool, is the ability to use emission in the materials of an object to create lighting without actually having to use lights as we've done traditionally in 3D. So sometimes, though, if you're looking for dramatic camera angles, you have just a lot of different things that go into the artwork that you're going to make. You may end up needing to turn those kind of lights as they become on and off, or tweak those in different ways that may seem a little more intuitive in the old-fashioned way, where we'd have just a light and you could move it, turn it on and off, and all that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how that stuff works in here now, and strategies for dealing with that. So here in this scene, you can see that I've got a camera set up with this sort of dramatic angle looking out past the sink of our galley here at two people talking. This is just a style of shot that I'm really fond of, coming from comics. This is the kind of thing you would see in from a lot of the different comic book artists who I really like. Um, there's just something cool about a shot like that. I think that kind of drops you, the viewer, into the guts of a scene, and then moves the actors off into the distance, so you get this sort of atmosphere involved. But for this particular shot, we're down inside this sink, and we're just on the side of it, away from the characters, and there is a light above the sink. So if I go into my perspective view, you'll see there is a light, one of these ceiling lights, that is directly above the sink. Now that light is giving off a lot of illumination, and it's causing my shot to be just entirely too bright right here on the sink. So what I'm going to do is I've selected the prop that is that ceiling light. And even though we don't see it in this shot, it's still in the scene and it's casting light. So there's a number of ways that we could deal with that. One is, just very quickly, we could just hide that light, and it should get rid of some of that illumination. There you can see some of the difference as iRay peppers in the scene. But that's really not the way that I want to deal with it. I would rather keep that light in there and keep my illumination the same, or keep my same sources of illumination in different renders that I'm doing of this shot. So I'm going to turn that back on, then go over to my surfaces, and in here we have two different materials on the object. There's lights metal and lights glass. Light glass is basically the bulbs, and if I open that up, you'll see a little thing labeled emission. And inside emission, we have emission color, temperature, and luminance that are the things we're really going to be focusing on here. So really, what we could do is play around with these and just see the results. The first place I would go is actually going to my emission color and just turning that way down, just dragging the slider on that down so that it just makes it a darker colored light. We'll get a little bit of a change out of that. We'll get a drop in the amount of illumination from that. The other thing, though, I'm just going to undo that we can do to work with this as we would a light, is to drop the actual luminance value. So right now I have this at 4K. I'm going to drop it down to, let's say, just 100. And that should darken this up somewhat. Okay. Then another thing that we could do is just turning this to 0 is going to, should get rid of most of the illumination. just bring all these down. This is basically, if you bring the emission color all the way down, you're going to just kill the light. It's like turning it off. So this would look as though I have another light in the scene that's really hitting that area pretty hard. So I've got that light turned out. Let's see if there's another light in our scene that's having an effect there. Okay. Let's try turning this light down a little bit. So this will be the same thing. Of course, I've got a preset saved for my materials on these lights, so I can turn this stuff back on really easily. So let's just turn this light off. Oh, you know what? I just realized what my problem is. Why I'm having this go on here. So even somebody's been doing this for a long time, you can still catch yourself going, oh yeah, that's what I forgot. I'm going to turn my overhead light here back on and reset my materials by applying this material back to it. Now I'm going to go to my camera, select the camera that I've created here, and then switch back to it. And I'm going to look in its parameters, and I just realized that I had headlamp still turned on for that. So I'm going to turn that headlamp off, and that actually should do quite a bit to drop that illumination down so that it's not so obnoxious. And that's something, it's kind of interesting. It's part of the point of doing these videos is so that you can kind of see things in progress and see, some of the things that even, if you've been doing it for a while, you still may trip over some of this stuff. And the whole headlamp thing is something to keep in mind, that whenever you create a camera, which I tend not to just use the perspective camera, I'll like to create new cameras in my scenes. Those new cameras all have a headlamp on by default, and what the headlamp on is what that headlamp is like, imagine you're holding a camera in front of your face and you have a light attached to the top of that camera so that it illuminates whatever's in front of it. I actually find those very annoying and typically turn them off, and this time just totally forgot about it. So there's that. So now I could go in and really effectively work with the lighting that's coming from this overhead lamp right here, from the materials of this light. So I'm going to shift back over to my camera, go into my surfaces and back to my emission, and now I can have a whole lot more control over that. So now if I turn that down, you should really see the effect. Yeah, see, that's much better. That brings it down so that it's dimmer. I want this foreground to be dim. That way we're really lighting the figures off in the distance. Of course, iRay is going to take a little while to cook this out. So what you're seeing here is just kind of the grainy, iRay pepper shot. But and I have depth of field turned on, so that's the fuzziness up close. But that's part of what I want here, is I want that depth of field turned on with the fuzziness so that you get, you create that sense of photographic depth. So there you've seen, just to recap, how we can work with an emissive material in here, playing with its color. I like having this slider right here that's going to turn up or down the intensity of color, because that's going to affect my intensity. Really, the easiest way to affect the intensity of the light. Of course, we could also just change colors and do all kinds of things with that. Like if we went to a really strong blue, you'll see how that, which isn't necessarily a bad look for this. because that blue helps kind of cool down the foreground and separate it from the distance. So it's just something else to keep in mind. You can also do stuff like that with temperature, which I tend not to mess with that a whole lot. You can see there we have a blue light, and then I move the temperature down, and it adds this warmth to it, so then my blue starts to become more of a purple. So I'm going to undo that. I find that around 6500 keeps my color coming out of the light pretty true in the scene to what I've chosen here. And of course, we can take down the luminance, take that down nice and low, and it's doing exactly that. It's cutting back the amount of light that it's emitting. And I think that is probably where I'm going to keep this. So I'll be doing a full render of this and then posting that. If you want to see that, just check it out on probably Facebook, and I don't know. I'll probably throw something in the comments here a little bit later with some links, so you can see like the final render from this. So anyway, let's just a little look while I'm working on this scene at working with lighting, working with emission in materials in the context of this of the iRay physics-based renderer. So anyway, I hope you pick up some useful little tidbits out of all that, and enjoy the video. So just as always, I'm Les. This is 6S1 Media, and be sure to comment and like and comment, leave any questions and things in the comments below, or hit me up on Facebook. So until next time.